Imagine this. For the last 15 years, women across the Western world stood on every stage, every screen, every classroom, every social media platform, and screamed at the top of their lungs that men were the problem. Toxic, oppressive, dangerous, unnecessary. They told us we weren't needed anymore, that they could do everything better on their own, that the future was female, and men should just step aside, shut up, and pay the bills while we're at it. And now, right now, as the walls are closing in, as rent is impossible, groceries are a luxury, loneliness is an epidemic, and the streets feel less safe every single day. Those same voices are suddenly whispering, then pleading, then outright begging. Where did all the good men go? Please come back. We didn't really mean it. Somebody please save us. But here's the part that will keep you watching until the very last second of this video. Men heard them the first time, and this time we're not coming back. Not now. Not ever. Stay with me, because by the time this video ends, you're going to see exactly why the biggest social shift in modern history is already locked in place, and there is absolutely nothing anyone can do to reverse it. If you feel that fire in your chest already, smash the like button right now, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear the truth, and subscribe so you never miss another Angry Guy breakdown. And listen, if you want to protect everything you've worked for, if you want to learn how to actually grow and safeguard your wealth in this collapsing economy, go click the link in the description and join Angry's Crypto Academy today. We teach you step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and store your assets the right way so nobody can ever take them from you. The Academy is waiting for you in the description. Go check it out right now. And if these videos are hitting home, if they're waking you up, show some love and buy me a Red Bull. The link is right there in the description too. Every can keeps the truth coming. Let me take you back to 2014, because that's when the script flipped so hard most people still haven't caught up. That was the year Kill All Men started trending unironically. That was the year viral articles told women they didn't need men for anything except maybe opening pickle jars. And even that was problematic. That was the year college campuses started teaching incoming freshmen that every male student was a potential threat until proven otherwise. That was the year the phrase, "the future is female," stopped being a cute t-shirt slogan and became official policy in HR departments, university admissions, government grants, and corporate boardrooms. Men were told in 1,000 different ways every single day that our presence was the problem and our absence would be the solution. And what did men do? We listened. Not because we wanted to, not because we agreed, but because every institution that used to have our back suddenly turned into a loaded gun pointed at our heads. One wrong word at work, career over. One accusation on campus, guilty until you spend your life savings proving you're innocent. One bad date that she decides to tweet about, your name trends for 3 days while strangers wish you the worst. So millions of men did the only rational thing left. We lowered our risk. We stopped approaching in public. We stopped flirting at bars. We stopped asking coworkers out for coffee. We stopped volunteering to mentor the new female hire. We stopped offering to carry heavy boxes. We stopped holding doors when it got us dirty looks. We didn't do it because we hate women. We did it because every single one of those actions now came with a non-zero chance of life-ruining consequences. And men, being rational actors when our actual lives are on the line, chose peace over chaos. Fast forward to 2025, and the results are in. Birth rates in every Western country are in absolute free fall. Marriage rates have collapsed to historic lows. Home ownership for people under 35 is a punchline. Sperm counts are down 62% in 50 years. 1 in 4 men under 40 has never had a girlfriend. Loneliness statistics for both sexes are through the roof. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Men are reporting higher life satisfaction than they have in decades. Why? Because we finally got the one thing we were never allowed to have, and peace and quiet. While women are posting tearful TikToks asking, where are all the good men? Men are at home with a 75-inch TV, a fridge full of food they can actually afford because they're not paying for two lifestyles anymore, and a friend group on Discord that never files false accusations. We're lifting weights in the garage. We're learning guitar. We're taking Brazilian jiu jitsu classes where the only drama is who's getting submitted tonight. We're sleeping 8, 9, 10 hours a night because nobody is blowing up our phone at 2 a.m. demanding to know what we're thinking. We're working jobs we actually like, or we're working less and enjoying the extra time because we no longer have to climb the corporate ladder to afford a lifestyle that impresses someone who already decided we're disposable. And the best part, we're not lonely. That's the lie they keep trying to sell. They keep saying men are lonely and lost without female validation. Brother, I have more real connections right now than I ever had when I was jumping through hoops trying to keep an ungrateful girlfriend happy. My friends and I talk every single day. We meet up, we train, we build things, we laugh until our ribs hurt, and nobody is keeping score of who texted who first. That's real connection. That's brotherhood. And it turns out when you remove the constant drama, criticism, and financial extraction, men build communities faster than you can blink. Meanwhile, the same women who spent a decade telling men to do the work and unpack their toxicity are now staring at empty DMs, empty dating app inboxes, and empty apartments that cost 2 grand a month for 400 square feet. They're realizing that the top 5% of men they were all fighting over on Tinder in 2019 have either locked down the few traditional women who still exist, or they've joined the rest of us in peaceful solitude with a passport and a list of countries where women still smile when a man says hello. The remaining 95% of men, we're not hate filled incels sitting in the dark. We're just done. We're done being the villain in someone else's story. We're done being the ATM that also gets blamed for climate change. We're done offering commitment to people who told us commitment itself is patriarchal oppression. And now the panic is setting in. You can see it everywhere. Articles with headlines like "The Male Loneliness Epidemic is a Crisis," written by the same publications that spent years celebrating when men withdrew. Podcasts where former boss babes cry about how they woke up at 37 with no husband, no children, and a cat that hates them. Viral videos of women in their 20s already complaining that men won't approach anymore, as if the last 10 years of approaching women is harassment, never happened. They're trying every trick in the book now. They're softening the rhetoric. They're posting throwback photos to when they had long hair and wore sundresses. They're making content about bringing back chivalry and wanting a man who leads. Some are even attempting to shame men again, calling us cowards, calling us weak, calling us losers for not wanting to sign up for the same deal that destroyed our fathers and grandfathers. But here's the part they still don't get. Shame doesn't work anymore. You spent 15 years burning the bridge, salting the earth, and then dancing on the ashes. You told us 1,000 times you didn't need us, didn't want us, and would be better off without us. You turned every male space into a battlefield and every male behavior into a potential crime. And now that the predictable consequences have arrived, you think a few soft Instagram reels and some crocodile tears are going to make millions of men run back into the fire? You think we forgot the lectures? You think we forgot the false accusations that ruined good men we personally knew? You think we forgot the family courts that turned fathers into monthly payments? You think we forgot the HR meetings, the Title IX kangaroo courts, the social media mobbings? We didn't forget anything. We just stopped caring about your opinion of us. And that, my friends, is the most powerful position a man can ever be in. Because when a man stops caring what society thinks of him, when he stops trying to prove he's one of the good ones, when he stops auditioning for a role that no longer exists, something magical happens. He becomes free. For the first time in his life, he gets to ask one simple question: what do I actually want? Not what will make me look good on Instagram, not what will get me a pat on the head from women who already decided I'm the enemy. not what will keep me just safe enough to avoid cancellation. Just what do I want? And you know what millions of men are discovering when they ask that question honestly? They want peace. They want brotherhood. They want hobbies that light them up. They want to travel light. They want to build wealth that nobody can weaponize against them. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. They want to wake up in the morning without a ball of anxiety in their chest, wondering which of their words is going to be screenshotted and used as evidence in the court of public opinion. And guess what? All of those things are available right now in abundance, without a single date, without a single relationship, without a single dollar of child support or alimony. That's not coping. That's winning. And the craziest part, the more men opt out, the better it gets for the men who already opted out. Prices for video games don't go up when women leave the hobby. Gym memberships don't get more expensive when women stop showing up to take selfies. Rent in the neighborhoods we actually want to live in stays reasonable because we're not trying to impress anybody with a downtown loft. The more men walk away, the more resources, time, and freedom become available to the men who are already free. This is what they never saw coming. They thought men would beg. They thought we would grovel. They thought we were so addicted to female attention that we would rather die than live without it. They thought wrong. Men adapt, men overcome, men build. And when the game becomes rigged against us, we simply stop playing that game and build a new one with better rules. So when you see those videos of women crying about, where have all the good men gone? Understand what you're really watching, the sound of a generation realizing the bill just came due, and the people they spent years telling to get lost are now the only ones who could have paid it, and we're not even picking up the phone. We're not coming back to save you. We're not coming back to marry you. We're not coming back to pay your bills, raise children alone while you chase career validation, or rebuild a society that spent 15 years telling us we were the problem. We're building something new, something better, something that doesn't require your permission, your approval, or your presence. And the best part, you're all invited to watch. Now let's slow the camera down for a second and really look at what's happening in real time, because this isn't just a trend. This isn't just a phase. This is a complete and total rewiring of the social contract that has been in place for thousands of years. And the most fascinating part is how predictable every single stage of it was if you were paying attention. And go back to 2016, 2017. That was peak men are trash energy. That was when the big celebrity women, the influencers, the think piece writers, the professors, all of them were openly celebrating the idea of a world with fewer men in it. Remember the articles that said the planet would be better if men just disappeared? Remember the late night hosts joking about how all men should be put in camps? Remember the TED Talks about how masculinity itself was the root of every problem, from war to plastic in the ocean? They weren't whispering this stuff. They were shouting it from every rooftop with a blue check mark. And men, again, listened. We didn't riot. We didn't scream. We didn't burn cities down. We just quietly updated our internal software. We looked at the risk-reward ratio of engaging with the current dating market, the marriage market, the fatherhood market, and we ran the numbers. And the numbers came back crystal clear. Hard pass. Because here's the thing, nobody wants to say out loud. Men have always been the ones who take the bigger risks in the mating game. We're the ones who approach. We're the ones who propose. We're the ones who sign the marriage contract that can cost us everything if it goes south. We're the ones who work the dangerous jobs, die younger, and still get told we're privileged for the honor. So when you spend a decade telling the risk-taking sex that every risk they take is now evidence of predatory behavior, guess what happens? The risk-taking stops. And it stopped cold. By 2019, surveys were already showing that 30% of young men had not been on a single date in the previous year. By 2021, that number was pushing 50% in some age groups. By 2023, marriage rates in the United States hit the lowest point ever recorded in the history of the country. And in 2025, right now, we're watching the first generation of women in recorded history who are more likely to be childless at 40 than married with children. That has never happened before. Not during wars, not during plagues, not during economic depressions, never. And yet, somehow, this was all a surprise to the people who spent 15 years demanding exactly this outcome. Now, I want you to picture a woman named Jessica. She's 33 years old today. In 2015, she was 23, fresh out of college with a communications degree and a minor in gender studies. She spent her early 20s posting things like, I don't need a man, I have a vibrator and a wine subscription. She laughed at her friends who got married at 25 and called them pick me girls. She swiped right on the top 5% of men on dating apps, collected orbiters like Pokemon cards, and told anyone who would listen that she was focusing on her career and that any man who wanted commitment before she was ready was controlling. Fast forward 10 years, Jessica makes $68,000 a year before taxes. Her rent just went up to $2,400 a month for a one bedroom in a city she doesn't even like anymore. Her student loans are still there. Her friends who got married early now have houses, kids, and husbands who coach Little League on weekends. Jessica has a cat named Chardonnay and a Spotify playlist called Boss Babe Anthems that she doesn't even listen to anymore because it makes her sad. Jessica opens TikTok one night after 3 glasses of actual Chardonnay and records a tearful video. I did everything right. I got the degree. I built the career. I lived my truth. Where are all the men who want to build a family? The video gets 3 million views. Half the comments are women in the exact same position saying, same girl. The other half are men quietly typing, you told us to leave you alone, so we did. And Jessica is furious, not at herself, not at the choices she made when she had infinite options and treated men like disposable entertainment. She's furious at the men who finally took her at her word. That's the part that keeps me up at night laughing. They actually believed we were bluffing. They actually thought men's desire for female companionship was so overwhelming, so uncontrollable, that no matter how badly they treated us, no matter how many times they moved the goalposts, we would keep coming back like golden retrievers who got kicked but still want to play fetch. They never understood that male loyalty is not weakness. It's a choice. And once that choice is revoked, it's revoked forever. You see, men don't burn bridges. We just stop maintaining them. We stop fixing them when they fall apart. We stop replacing the wood when it rots. And eventually nature takes over and the bridge collapses on its own. That's what you're watching right now. The bridge is gone, and no amount of crying on camera is going to bring back the engineers who used to keep it standing. I want you to think about your grandfather for a second. Picture him in 1965. He worked one job, came home to a wife who cooked dinner, kids who respected him, and a society that at least pretended to value what he did. He wasn't perfect. Nobody's saying he was, but he had a role, he had a purpose, he had a reason to get up at 5 a.m. and go do dangerous, back-breaking work for 40 years. Now look at a 25-year-old man in 2025. He's told from birth that his natural instincts are toxic. He's told his energy is dangerous. He's told that if he earns more than his wife, he's oppressive, and if he earns less, he's a loser. He's told that wanting a family makes him a tradcon caveman, but not wanting one makes him an immature man-child. He's told that paying for dates is expected, but expecting anything in return is predatory. He's told that marriage is a scam and then shamed for not wanting to get married. So what does he do? He does the only thing that still makes sense. He logs off. He deletes the apps. He lifts weights. He stacks crypto. He learns a trade or starts an online business that lets him work 4 hours a day from anywhere. He travels to countries where people still smile when you hold the door. And he sleeps like a baby at night because nobody is keeping a scorecard of his masculinity anymore. And the women who spent years telling him his masculinity was the problem, And I want to know why he won't come be masculine for them. It's almost poetic. You can see the panic spreading in waves now. First, it was the soft articles. Men are checking out. Is anyone concerned? Then came the shaming. It's real men don't play video games all day. Then came the bargaining. We'll bring back gender roles if you just come back. And now we're entering the final stage, desperation. Women in their late 30s and early 40s making videos with titles like I was wrong about feminism or I regret freezing my eggs. Women who spent their youth calling men trash, now writing entire substacks about how they wish they could find a man who isn't afraid to lead. But here's the cold truth. The men who could lead, the men who had that natural masculine energy, the men who would have built empires for the right woman, those men were the first ones to leave. They saw the writing on the wall in 2015 and they were gone by 2018. The men who are still left swimming in that dating pool are either the top 3% who can do whatever they want, or the ones who never had the self respect to walk away in the first place. Everyone else, we're on the other side of the river now, watching the show with popcorn. And the popcorn is delicious because every day more men wake up. Every day, another guy who's been simping for 10 years finally has that moment where he looks in the mirror and says, why am I killing myself for people who hate me? Every day, another man cancels his dating apps, deletes Instagram, buys a PlayStation or a dirt bike or a one-way ticket to Thailand and never looks back. This isn't a movement with leaders. There's no headquarters. There's no membership card. It's just millions of individual men all over the world making the same quiet decision at the same time. I'm done. And once a man makes that decision, something incredible happens. He becomes unbreakable because the thing that used to control him, the need for female approval, is suddenly gone. And when that need disappears, all the leverage women had disappears with it. The nagging doesn't work. The guilt trips bounce off. The threats mean nothing. The crocodile tears might as well be raindrops. He's free. And free men are the most dangerous thing in the world to a system that was built on keeping them enslaved. That's why they're panicking now. That's why the articles are getting more hysterical. That's why the talking points are all over the place. One day it's men need to man up. The next day it's the toxic masculinity is killing us all. They can't decide whether to shame us or beg us because neither one is working anymore. And it's only going to get worse for them because the men who walked away first are now 5, 7, 10 years into their new lives. They've got money in the bank. They've got passports full of stamps. They've got bodies that look like Greek statues and friend groups that feel like family. They've got peace that no amount of money could have bought them back when they were still trapped in the matrix. And every day, another 1,000 men look at those guys and say, I want that. So the exodus accelerates. And there is no speech, no viral video, no government program, no bring back the draft nonsense that can stop it. Because you can't force a man to care about a society that told him he's the problem. You can't guilt a man into sacrificing for people who spent years celebrating his destruction. The contract was broken. The deal is off. The genie is out of the bottle, and he's not going back in. Now let's pull the lens back even further and look at the numbers because numbers don't have feelings. Numbers don't do damage control. And numbers don't write tearful apology threads on X when the narrative collapses. In 2024, the US marriage rate hit 5.1 per 1,000 people, the lowest since the government started keeping records in 1867. That's not a dip. That's a cliff. In 1970, 80% of men and 82% of women aged 25 to 34 were married. Today, those numbers are 34% and 38%. Flip the age bracket to 35 to 44, and it's still barely cracking 50%. That means the majority of adults in the prime of their life are single, and the majority of those singles are not dating anyone seriously. That has never happened in any society ever. Birth rates? The United States is now at 1.58 children per woman, well below the 2.1 replacement level. South Korea just announced 0.68. Japan is at 1.2 and falling. Italy, Spain, Greece, all under 1.3. These are not low birth rate countries anymore. These are demographic death spirals. In 25 years, there will be more people over 65 in those countries than under 18. Entire towns in Japan are already ghost towns because there are no children to replace the old people who passed away. Schools are closing by the hundreds every year. Pension systems are mathematically guaranteed to collapse. And every single one of these countries has something in common. They spent the last 2 decades telling men they were obsolete while simultaneously expecting those same men to keep working, paying taxes, and propping up the entire system with their labor and their loneliness. They thought the machine would keep running without the fuel. They were wrong. Now, when the media finally talks about this, they always frame it as a crisis for women. You'll see headlines like "Women are freezing their eggs in record numbers" or "The rise of the childless cat lady." They never ask the obvious question: why would a man volunteer to bring children into a society that treats fathers like walking wallets and potential predators? Why would a man sign a marriage contract that gives his wife the unilateral right to destroy his life, take his children, take half his assets, and force him to pay her for the privilege of never seeing his kids again? The answer is simple: he wouldn't, and he doesn't. So the birth rate keeps falling, the population ages, the economy contracts, and the people who spent years celebrating independence are now staring down a future where there is no one to pay into Social Security, no one to staff the nursing homes, no one to keep the lights on when they're 85 and frail. But here's where it gets really wild. Even with all of that staring them in the face, they still refuse to take accountability. Instead, they double down on the same playbook that created the problem. Phase one was denial. Men are just intimidated by strong women. Phase two was anger. Men are immature losers living in their parents' basements. Phase three was bargaining. Okay, we'll let you pay for dinner again if you propose in 6 months. Phase four was depression. Cue the crying TikToks at 2 a.m. And phase five? Phase five is where we are right now. Desperation mixed with resentment. You can see it in the language. They went from "we don't need men" to "men need to step up in less than 5 years." They went from "marriage is a patriarchal tool of oppression" to "why won't men commit?" without even blinking. They went from "children are a burden on my career and the planet" to "I can't believe I'm 38 and no one wants to give me a baby." And the best part, they still think the problem is men, not the ideology they swallowed whole for 15 years. Let me tell you about a guy I know. We'll call him Marcus. Marcus is 31. He's 6 feet 2 inches, makes low six figures as a software engineer, lives 5 days a week, owns his own condo outright, no debt, travels 3 months a year. Marcus is what every dating coach calls high value. In 2018, Marcus was still trying. He was on the apps, going on dates, paying for dinners, planning weekend getaways. He had a girlfriend for 2 years who told him on a regular basis that marriage was an outdated institution and that if he really loved her, he wouldn't need a piece of paper. She also told him that wanting children before 35 was selfish because of her career. In 2021, she broke up with him because he wasn't emotionally available enough. Translation: he stopped jumping through every hoop the second she added a new one. 6 months later, she was engaged to a divorced 45-year-old doctor who proposed on the third date because he knew the window was closing fast. Marcus took the breakup hard for about 3 weeks. Then he deleted all the apps, sold the engagement ring he had already bought. Yes, he had it, and used the money to buy a one-way ticket to Medellin, Colombia. He lived there for 6 months, learned Spanish, dated women who smiled when he opened doors, and came home a completely different man. Today, Marcus works 4 hours a day, trains jujitsu, plays guitar in a band with his buddies, and has zero interest in dating Western women. He says, and I quote, "I make too much money and I'm too happy to ever let someone weaponize the court system against me." When his mom asks about grandkids, he just smiles and says, "maybe one day with a woman who isn't raised on resentment." Marcus is not an outlier. Marcus is the new normal. Multiply Marcus by 5 million, and you start to understand the scale of what's actually happening. And the women who are just now waking up to this reality are trying every trick in the book to get the Marcuses of the world to come back. They're posting Bible verses they don't believe. They're wearing sundresses in November. They're making videos about submitting to a godly man while still keeping their OnlyFans in the bio. They're writing long threads about how feminism was hijacked and not all of us hated men. They're trying to rewind the clock with filters and ring lights. But Marcus isn't watching. None of the Marcuses are watching. They're in the gym. They're in Thailand. They're in Argentina. They're in Dubai. They're in Medellin. They're in Poland. They're anywhere but here because here is where they were told for 15 straight years that their presence was the problem. And when you tell a man enough times that he's the problem, eventually he believes you and removes himself from the equation. Hey guys, listen up. If you're tired of going through life alone and you want real brotherhood with men who actually think and grind like you, then check out Angry Guys Clubhouse. It's a community built around brotherhood, passive income, business insights, and even expat living. Plus, you get access to our private men's chat where real conversations happen every day. And when you sign up, you'll get the passive income blueprint and the expat blueprint free just for joining. Don't wait. The link is in the description. Go check it out now. That's not bitterness. That's basic cause and effect. So when you see these women making videos asking, where did all the good men go? Understand they're not really asking a question. They're reading the final chapter of a book they spent their entire youth writing and they hate the ending. But the ending was inevitable the moment they decided that shaming men, devaluing men, criminalizing male nature, and dismantling every institution that protected men was progress. You can't spend 15 years telling half the population they're toxic and then act surprised when they stop volunteering to be your emotional punching bag, your financial safety net, and your sperm donor all in one. You can't demonize protectiveness, providing, and leadership for a decade and then cry because no one is protecting or providing anymore. You can't turn every natural male behavior into a potential felony and then wonder why men stopped approaching in public. You can't celebrate single motherhood, no fault divorce, and independence for 20 years and then act shocked when men look at marriage and say hard pass. The math was never hard. It was always simple. Treat men like utility, and eventually men will go off grid. And that's exactly what happened. We went off grid. We're not hiding in basements. We're not rage-filled incels plotting revenge. We're not lonely, broken, or lost. We're the happiest, healthiest, wealthiest, most peaceful generation of men this civilization has ever produced. And we did it by doing exactly what you told us to do. We left you alone. So to every woman watching this who's starting to feel that cold panic in her chest, we heard you the first 1,000 times. You don't get to change the rules now just because the consequences showed up. The party's over. The music stopped. The lights came on. And we're already home. Now let's talk about what happens when the coping mechanisms finally run out of battery. Because for the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a whole cottage industry built around pretending this wasn't happening or that it could be fixed with minor tweaks. The red pill YouTubers sold courses. The trad wife influencers sold modesty skirts. The dating coaches sold texting templates. The egg freezing clinics sold hope at 12 grand a cycle. The therapists sold attachment style workbooks. And for a little while, it looked like maybe, just maybe, the machine could keep limping along. But 2025 is the year the illusion dies for good. You can feel it in the air. The videos aren't just sad anymore. They're frantic. The tone has shifted from I'm a queen and I'll find my king when I'm ready to please someone, anyone, tell me what I did wrong. The comment sections aren't filled with Yas girl pep talks anymore. They're filled with silence, or worse, with men calmly explaining the math she spent 15 years refusing to learn. And the really wild part, The ones who are screaming the loudest right now are the same ones who were the most vicious when they had the cultural megaphone. The former bloggers who wrote pieces titled, "Why I'll Never Date a Man Who Earns Less Than Me," are now posting anonymous confessions on Reddit about how they can't find anyone who earns more. The girls who used to mock nice guys in group chats are now making TikToks asking why nice guys ghosted them after 2 dates. The influencers who built entire brands on high value woman energy are quietly deleting old videos where they bragged about having rosters and body counts. The mask is off, and what's underneath is pure unfiltered panic. Because for the first time in their lives, these women are staring at a future with no safety net, and they're realizing the safety net was never the government. It was never their corporate job. It was never their girl gang brunch crew. The safety net was always men, men who were willing to work themselves into early graves to provide, men who were willing to risk rejection 100 times to find one woman worth protecting, men who were willing to sign legal documents that could bankrupt them for life just for the privilege of building a family. And those men are gone. Not dead, not hiding, gone. They're in the gym at 6 a.m. Wash him while she's still asleep. They're on a flight to Lisbon while she's doom scrolling. They're closing deals in Dubai while she's arguing with a customer service bot about why her rent went up again. They're laughing with their boys over steak and cigars while she's crying into a $22 cocktail, wondering why no one texts her back. And the gap keeps widening every single day. I want you to imagine a 28-year-old woman named Lauren. Lauren has 42,000 followers on Instagram. She's a content creator who built her brand on soft life aesthetics, oat milk lattes, Pilates classes, Bali vacations funded by brand deals. In 2021, she made a viral reel saying, "If he can't pay my rent on the first date, he's broke and I'm not a charity." It got 4 million views. Women flooded the comments with fire emojis. Men tried to warn her in the comments and got ratioed into oblivion. Fast forward to 2025. Lauren is 31 now. The brand deals dried up when the economy tightened. The algorithm buried her. She's living in a 600 square foot apartment that costs $2,900 a month. Her last three talking stage guys ghosted the second she mentioned wanting something serious. She posted a video 6 weeks ago titled, "Where Are All the Providers?" with tears streaming down her face. It has 180,000 views, and the top comment with 42,000 likes is a single sentence from a verified account. "You priced yourself out of the market you helped create." Lauren is now privately deeming men she used to ignore, men she called dusties and broke boys back when she was 25 and flying first class on a finance bro's dime. She's offering to split the bill 50-50 now. She's posting stories about how she's open to traditional dynamics now. She's even started going to church on Sundays, something she used to mock as brainwashed trad wife nonsense. But the men she's messaging aren't answering because those men remember. They remember the screenshots. They remember the laugh emojis under her old tweets calling men trash. They remember the stories she posted bragging about flying out Chad from Miami while some engineer in Ohio paid for her Uber Eats because she told him she was having a hard week. Those men aren't angry anymore. They're just indifferent. And indifference is the one thing a woman who spent her youth being the center of attention can't survive. That's the part nobody saw coming. They thought male anger was the worst case scenario. They thought if they pushed too far, men would get mad, make some noise, maybe post some angry memes, and then come crawling back when the loneliness hit. They never considered that the real danger was male apathy, because an angry man still cares. An angry man can still be negotiated with. An angry man can still be shamed or guilted or seduced back into the game. An indifferent man is finished. He's not hating you. He's not plotting against you. He simply does not factor you into his plans at all. You don't exist in his world anymore. And there is no force on earth more powerful than a man who has emotionally deleted you from his future. That's where we are now. Millions of men have reached that point of total serene indifference. And once a man gets there, there is no speech, no makeover, no glow up, no sudden interest in cooking and cleaning that can pull him back. The switch has been flipped. The chapter is closed. The book is on the shelf, and the silence is deafening. You can see it in the dating app data. Hinge released numbers showing that women initiate only 18% of conversations now, down from 42% in 2019. Bumble's entire business model was built on women making the first move, and their stock is down 80% from the peak. Men aren't swiping anymore. They're not paying for premium. They're not sending the first message. They're not even opening the app. Why would they? The juice hasn't been worth the squeeze in years. And the women who spent a decade bragging that they had too many options now have inboxes emptier than a church on Monday morning. That's not a glitch. That's the feature. Because here's the secret nobody wants to say out loud. Men never needed women the way women needed men. Biologically, culturally, economically, historically, men were always the disposable sex. We were always the ones sent to war, sent down the mines, sent to die on the Titanic so the women and children could live. All we ever asked in return was respect, loyalty, and a reason to come home. You took away the respect, you took away the loyalty, and then you took away the reason. So we stopped coming home. And now the house is empty, the lights are off, and the women who used to dance in the living room bragging about how they didn't need anyone are sitting in the dark, wondering why it's so cold. But we're not cold. We're in a new house now, one we built ourselves, with heat, with light, with brothers who have our backs, with hobbies that make us laugh until we cry, with money that stays in our accounts, with peace that no amount of tears can buy back. And every day another man walks through the door of that new house, looks around, smiles, and says, "So this is what they were so afraid of us finding." Because the greatest plot twist in all of this, the men who walked away aren't suffering. We're thriving. We're happier, healthier, richer, and more fulfilled than any generation of men before us. And the women who spent 15 years telling us we were the problem are now living the consequences alone. That's not revenge. That's not punishment. That's just consequences doing what consequences always do. And consequences never apologize. Now we arrive at the part nobody wants to say out loud. But every man watching this already feels in his bones. This is not a phase. This is not a correction. This is not something that gets fixed with a new president, a new dating app, or a viral trad wife trend on TikTok. This is the new baseline. This is the floor. And the floor is made of concrete poured over the grave of the old social contract. For the first time in human history, a critical mass of men have zero incentive to participate in the systems that used to define adulthood: marriage, children, home ownership with a white picket fence, 40 years at one company for a gold watch and a pension. Those things were never free gifts from the universe. They were trades. Men traded our labor, our lives, our freedom, and our peace for a promise that if we played by the rules, we would be respected, protected, and rewarded with family, legacy, and status. That promise was broken, not bent, not renegotiated, broken, smashed into a million pieces, and then the pieces were set on fire while we were told to smile and call it progress. So we did the only rational thing left. We stopped trading. And once enough men stopped trading, the entire system that depended on the male sacrifice collapses under its own weight. That's not a theory. That's not hyperbole. That's what you're watching in real time. Look at Japan, 30 years ahead of the curve. They started this experiment in the 1990s. Shame men, elevate career women, dismantle traditional expectations, celebrate herbivore men who opt out. And now, 1 in 3 Japanese men under 40 has never had sex. 1 in 4 women. Entire apartment buildings sit empty because there are no young families to fill them. The government is literally paying people to have children and nobody is taking the money because the deal is trash. Japan is the preview reel We're just watching the North American cut. And the craziest part, even when it's staring them in the face, even when the statistics are screaming, even when the loneliness is crushing, they still won't admit the root cause. Instead, they invent new scapegoats. It's smartphones, it's porn, it's video games, it's Andrew Tate, it's the economy. No, it's the contract. The contract is dead. You killed it. And dead things don't come back to life just because you missed the corpse. But here's where it gets beautiful for men. The future isn't dark, it's bright as hell, but only if you're a man who already made the choice to walk away. Because while one civilization is eating itself in slow motion, another one is being born in the margins, quietly, without fanfare, without asking permission. Men are building parallel systems. We're building brotherhoods that feel like the families we were promised but never got. We're building businesses that run on 4 hours a day and pay more than our fathers made in a month. We're building bodies that make Greek statues look soft. We're building wealth that no family court judge can touch because it's in crypto, it's in assets overseas, it's in skills that can't be taken. We're building passports that open doors to countries where masculinity is still celebrated instead of criminalized. We're building lives so full of purpose, adventure, and peace that the idea of trading it all for a woman who spent her 20s calling men trash feels like volunteering to go back to prison after tasting freedom. And the best part, nobody can stop it. There is no law they can pass. There is no tax they can raise. There is no shaming campaign they can launch. There is no man up speech powerful enough to drag a man who's tasted real peace back into the cage. Once a man has spent 6 months waking up without anxiety, without drama, without someone keeping score of everything he says, he will never voluntarily put the handcuffs back on. Never. You would have to drug him, kidnap him, and brainwash him for years. And even then, he'd probably fight to the death to keep his freedom. And that's the red pill that keeps on giving. Freedom isn't just better than slavery. It's so much better that once you have it, you realize you were insane for ever accepting anything less. And that's why this shift is permanent for at least 2 generations. The men who are 20 to 40 right now are done. Completely done. The men who are 15 to 20 right now watch their fathers get destroyed, watch their mothers weaponize the system, watch the culture spit on everything masculine, and they're opting out before they even start. The boys who are 10 to 15 right now are growing up in a world where their role models aren't simps on television. They're the uncles and big brothers who travel the world, lift heavy, stack money, and laugh every single day. By the time today's panic-stricken 30-year-old woman is 50, the idea of convincing a man to marry her will feel as realistic as convincing a lion to become a vegetarian because the grass is ethically sourced. The window didn't just close, the building got demolished. And on the land where that building used to stand, men are planting gardens, real gardens, with real fruit, with real brotherhood, with real peace. So when people ask what comes next, I tell them the truth. What comes next is the greatest era of male freedom, male happiness, and male prosperity this planet has ever seen. And it's happening right now, whether the old world likes it or not. The only question left is, which side of history are you going to be on? The side that's crying about the ashes of a system that hated you, or the side that's building something new, something unbreakable, something that finally puts men first for the first time in 100 years. I know which side I'm on. And if you're still here, still watching, still nodding along, I already know which side you're on too. So here's the final truth, the one that ties it all together. They told us we were nothing without them. They told us we were toxic, broken, obsolete. They told us the future didn't need us. And instead of arguing, we just showed them the future. A future without their drama, a future without their demands, a future without their judgment, a future where men are finally free. And the funniest part, that future is better than anything they ever offered us when they still thought they held all the cards. We didn't burn the old world down. We just walked away and built a new one. and we're never coming back. What did you think about all of this? Do you agree? Do you see it playing out in your own life, in your city, in your friend group? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Like the video if it hit home. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if it fired you up, share it with every man who needs to hear the truth today. All roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.